What is up, Soul Fam? It's Sundal from Substance Over Style. Welcome to a new video. Okay, so yes, I was supposed to do this video on Friday and it didn't happen. And you know, with these things, I always trust in like the flow. And it seems like there were quite a few things that needed to like happen over the weekend and unlock before I could actually bring the transmission through. So, you know, just a couple of little social gatherings that I went to over the weekend and people that I spoke to just really helped me kind of figure out a few things that I was kind of like pondering, and just realizing that it's already here, like we're already here. So anybody who's, you know, wondering what the hell is going on with this whole shift, and like with my video that I did like 10 days ago or however long it was, talking about the grand solar flash. Now again, I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I wasn't saying that this is true and this is what I predict. I was just saying this is what my vision showed me. This is what other people's visions have shown them. And I spoke to people about it over the weekend because I just feel like I'm being aligned now to, and maybe this is happening with everyone, maybe it's not, you know, maybe it's just unique to my experience, but I just feel like everyone's on the path now. Everyone that I meet is on the path. Like, obviously people are at different levels, but I don't have this like separation or distinction between like awake and non-awake, because like, what does awake mean really? Because it's not like a you know, a flip. Is it a switch that gets flipped? Okay, maybe it's a switch that gets flipped, but it's actually, you're always building up to it. You're always building up to it. Like when people ask me like, how did your awakening begin? It's almost like when I think back to it, it's just like, could I say that there was like one point at which it just actually, you know, I talk maybe like about my spontaneous Kundalini awakening, but that didn't happen until I'd already started asking questions, until I'd already started reading certain books, until I'd already been involved in activism for many years. I was doing 9/11 Truth for like 4 or 5 years before that happened. I was an animal rights activist from the age of 16, so I'd already started asking questions about the nature of reality and what the fuck is going on here. But just now I've just started to look at people like without this kind of perceptual filter of like, are you awake or not awake, as like a binary, because I just trust that we're all on the journey. And yes, some people are looping here and are like stuck in the cycle of samsara, but it's because they choose to be. And again, when I say they, I don't even mean they as in they're separate from you, because they're not. Like, we're not separate from each other. It's all just fractals of you. It's just another aspects of yourself that have chosen to stay here because you chose to construct this whole thing because of your belief in separation. And you chose to create these parts of yourself that feel separate from you. So, you know, we can put these labels like NPC, matrix agent, all of that stuff. They're just reflections of the part of you that wants to stay stuck in the matrix. And I'll talk about the matrix, in deeper levels within this video. But one thing that I've noticed over the last week is that inner, like the NPC / matrix agent within the collective is being purged out. And that's what I'm noticing within people, because you know, I've kind of, as I'm letting go of that story of, you know, awake or not awake, because I look at a lot of awake people and I've said this before, I think that they believe a lot of nonsense, and a lot of the time I get on better with people that are so-called asleep and can talk to them on a more real level, because they can be a bit more like human and a bit more grounded and embodied into the reality of their experience, you know, rather than people who've begun an awakening journey and can sometimes become quite delusional. Not that there's anything wrong with being delusional, because we are just creating this reality and we're creating the rules of the game. And sometimes you need to be a little bit delusional to be a visionary and start to change the rules of the game. But I'm noticing that old story is purging out, because I'm starting to see just people are basically dropping the density, they're dropping the competition, they're dropping the hurt, they're dropping the idea of like projecting an external enemy onto the other. And so I've noticed some people coming into my field and showing me the parts of myself where I still feel like people are going to receive me in a way where they're like, what the fuck is she talking about? Like, she's crazy. Like, she's, again, delusional. Like, you know, when you start talking about these things and talking about your experiences, a lot of people are scared to talk about it. A lot of us are having these experiences, you know, of, you know, telepathic communication or bilocation or visiting past lives or receiving visions or downloads or, you know, picking up on other people's emotions, or even physical pain, picking up on other people's physical pains, whatever it is that you're noticing that, you know, the Matrix or society or whatever word you want to put on it has told you aren't real, or that's, you know, woo, airy fairy, mumbo jumbo bullshit, doesn't make sense. You know, this is just a 5 sense reality, and only what's real is what's physical, and everything else is just empty space, which is just total bullshit. It's not true. Like, what we see and perceive through the 5 sense reality is just 1/10 billionth of the visible light spectrum. There's so much else going on, and a lot of us can perceive that and are starting to perceive it more and more. So I'm seeing these reflections in people where they're like, yeah, just coming into my space and being like wholly irreverent and just, what's the word? Just like straight up nasty, just nasty, swearing, verbally abusive, whatever, like whatever's being triggered within them. And obviously I know that it's all an aspect of my own consciousness that hasn't fully accepted those parts of myself and where I'm now starting to reveal, you know, some of the things that I've been unlocking in this path that I'm on, that we're all on together. But at the same time, just to put this out there to all the other reflections of me, like, if you're going to come into my space with an irreverent attitude, and like, obviously I know I have some lurkers and stuff, and that's fine. Like, it's part of what I do, it's part of my positioning with like the modeling work that I do, that there are going to be certain people in my space that don't really understand the mission that I'm on, and they're a bit like, what the fuck is she talking about? And I'm okay with that, because I know that I've been positioned by God, by my higher self, by my multidimensional avatar. I've chosen to be in this body and be positioned where I am at this point in time, in history, in existence, to reach the people that I'm reaching with this message. And that's for a very specific reason. So, like, for example, when people, like, somebody came to me, like, I think it was like a year ago or something, DM'd me going, oh, you should maybe consider keeping your modeling stuff and your like spiritual stuff separate, you know, because people are confused, it doesn't really fit. And I got pissed off. Like, I don't want to even use the word triggered, because it wasn't triggered. Maybe it was triggered, but it was deeper than that. It was just like, firstly, who the fuck asked you? I did not ask you how I should be showing up. Like, if I want your opinion on how I should be showing up, I'll ask for it. Until I do, I'm not here for it. I'm not interested in what you think I should be doing. I'm not paying you for your time, and that is unsolicited advice, and it's a spiritual violation. It's not just a spiritual violation, it's just a straight up digital violation, energetic violation. Didn't fucking ask, so don't tell me. I'm not interested in your opinion. But secondly, why the fuck should I compartmentalize myself into these pieces, into these fragments? This whole journey is about reintegrating back into wholeness all our facets and our lost parts of ourselves, especially as women, because, as you know, as physical expressions of the goddess. Men are as well, nature is, all of this manifested reality is a physical expression, physical manifestation of the goddess, of her. We are all the things, okay? We're many different things. And to say that, oh, this is my account for my intelligent stuff, and this is my account for my bum, and this is my account for my beauty. No, fuck that. We're multidimensional. My intelligence is my beauty is my intelligence. I don't have to be beautiful. I'm not obliged to be beautiful all the time. That's why I didn't hold back from making this video, even though I don't have a full face of makeup and I didn't intend to film the video today. It just started coming through. The words just started coming through me and I couldn't stop them. So I know that I need to do the video now. So, you know, I'm not going to fragment and compartmentalize and put myself in pieces and boxes just so that I can make sense to your little brain that can't fully grasp the magnitude that I am, that can't understand that somebody can be a model and a woman and a young woman that is hot and sexy and also deep and spiritual and, you know, aligned to God and not perfect all the time and makes mistakes and can be rude. And this is the other thing, like, don't come into my space and go, what the fuck are you, somebody did this to me today, okay? Left a comment on my reel where I'm talking about spirits and the etymology of the word alcohol. It wasn't even, I wasn't talking about the word spirits, I was talking about the word alcohol, which etymologically has its origins in one of the, you'll have to ask Cullen Smith about this because he's a wordsmith, but I think it has one of the Arabic languages, Aramaic or something, al-ghul, or like a ghoul, like a spirit basically. Because it extracts the spirit. It's used in herbology to extract the spirit of the plant. And he goes, you're talking shit. It doesn't, that's not what it means in Webster's dictionary. What? Like English is the oldest language in the world. Like, what the fuck? Like, this guy was an idiot, okay? He was talking shit. He was clearly unbegun. By that word, okay, that's a word that those who are initiated into the knowledge use in a, like, not, I don't want to say white brotherhood, that's what they call themselves. They're kind of dark brotherhood, you know, the Freemasons, the secret societies, Illuminati, whatever you want to call it. Those that have the knowledge will call those that don't, and I have no problem using that term. I'll use NPC, I'll use matrix agent, I'll use unbegun. Obviously I know that these people are also just reflections of me and the part of myself that hasn't, the lost part of myself that hasn't yet initiated and doesn't understand these things. Maybe I should have been more patient and explained to him patiently like I'm a child, but I don't have time for people who want to try and project onto me that because I'm like on a spiritual path or because I'm spiritual and try and align myself as much to the law of one as possible, that I'm always going to be one of them love and light bitches, because I'm not, okay? I can be fucking savage if you test me. If you don't even try me, don't come at me with abuse or entitlement or irreverence or just stupidity and expect me to do your work for you, because I'm just not going to, okay? Like, I expect people to do their own work, and not, don't use me as Google, don't use me as an encyclopedia, and definitely don't chat shit or use swear words. I will use swear words, obviously, because this is my space, and if you're coming to me to learn from me, then I'm going to use swear words. But don't talk to me and swear at me and tell me that I'm talking shit or stop the bullshit or what the fuck are you talking about. Get the fuck out of my space. Like, I will rebuke you and tell you, get the fuck out of my space. I'll make an example of that person first, and then I'll block them. And I'm okay with doing that. And I don't feel obligated to be all love and light. And I don't think any of you should have to be either, because you're human in this experience and you have feelings. And if you want to be respected, then expect to be respected and don't tolerate disrespect. So I'm just going to put up that boundary. So yeah, I have noticed that I don't want to say that these people are NPCs, because I actually feel like that energy is becoming less and less on the planet, because as we're shifting into higher dimensions, it's actually more like an an NPC, or like an inner matrix agent, like it's like a Wetiko mind virus that takes over a host of the human that has not fully, like, its multidimensional avatar is not fully taking up the body. So it is like an inorganic entity that's kind of running the show with this person. So again, this is what I was talking about with some of the people that I met over the weekend, that it's like a hive mind. So there's obviously like the mind of God, the big mind, the big one I am, that is the love and truth frequency that we can all tap into any time that we want. And we're all fractals, we're all emanations of that. And it's like a tree. It's like a tree with branches. You can see all these branches that come off. Like, see, there's a trunk that is, and this trunk will have two streams. That is the Christ Sophia, the masculine, divine feminine, divine masculine, that wrap around each other in holy sacred union. This is what the Adam and Eve with the tree, with the fruit from the tree. And again, a lot of that has got a lot of more deeper symbolism, because it goes, to the tree of life, the 12 spheres versus the 10 spheres, and, the tree of life, and then also the Klipos. But that's just, a lesson for another time, and I also need to do some more research on it myself before I try and teach anyone about it. But I'll just throw those terms out there for those of you that want to research it and decode it. Because we're all doing this together, right? It's not like me teaching, like, I'll share what I've learned and what I've decoded, and I expect you all to do the same, okay? Because we're all equal in this journey. But what was I saying? Yeah, so we're all like branches of the tree that come from the source. But then sometimes those branches break off, and they try and hang on, they try and feed for sustenance onto the tree, and basically it's like there's this other force, right, that's like a black hole, that, like, so this is like tapped into the earth, or tapped into the stream of creator. There is the sustenance, there is everlasting life, there is provision, there is love, that where the sustenance that we're all looking for, like, the energy, like love, like food, it's a fuel source that we all go to feed on, is God. And then there's this other force that's literally like a parasite, okay? It's a black hole, and you can call it what you want. It's called different things in different texts, okay? In, some texts call it the demiurge. The Gnostic texts, I believe, they call it the demiurge, okay? In the Abrahamic religions, they call it Satan. Some people know it as like an AI inorganic demigod, or like a reversal of God. It's like the opposite of God. It's consumption, okay? In Kelontics, they call it consumption. It just feeds. And this is what in the film The Never-Ending Story, they talk about all of this. It's the nothing. Indigenous, the First Nations people call it the Wetiko. So it's the Matrix. That's what one of the girls at the party that I went to on Friday called it. She was like, it's the Matrix. And it is. It's an inorganic matrix, okay? There's two matrices, actually, okay? There's the matrix that they talk about in the movie The Matrix. And when you start opening up your vision and tapping into the field, you'll see it. Different people perceive the field differently, because the field communicates in symbols. And how your subconscious mind interprets those symbols based on what they mean to you. But I see it as like very similar to the Matrix movie. In fact, I actually pulled a client out of the Matrix the other day in a session. Like, literally, when I opened up her field, I saw like this, like a grid, like a dark grid, an AI grid. And literally, it was funny actually, Agent Smith's running across it. And then I was laughing actually, because I'd never seen anything so like comical in someone's field before. But it was this kind of feeling of like being like trapped, or being sucked, or being pulled into the Matrix, into this AI inorganic, left brain dominant, no love, no compassion, no divine feminine, none nature, like devoid of nature, like this machine-like intelligence that's trying to basically turn. It's transhumanism. Again, the transhumanism agenda comes from this consciousness, this inorganic consciousness that's separated from source creator. And then in her field, I saw Neo going, it's really funny, going and like pushing the Matrix agents away. And I was just like, yeah, your inner Christ is like awakening. Like that's how I was interpreting it. It's like you're awakening to the one, you're awakening to your separation with creator, not your separation, your union with creator. That is what it is. Okay, some of you asked some questions in the Q&A poll that I posted on Instagram. So one of the questions that I got asked was, are there any books that I can read about Christ consciousness or HG Hirosgamos? Okay, and people ask me this question, and firstly, I don't like the term Christ consciousness. Hello, hi, there's pigeon. So this, sorry, I'm jumping around a bit. There's two matrices. One of them is the inorganic matrix, and then the other one is the organic matrix, which is the womb of Mother Earth. Matrix means womb. Etymologically, it comes from matter. It's manifested reality. Matter, mother, matrix, womb. So we're literally in the womb of Mother Earth. The organic matrix, we are connected to her through an umbilical cord that connects to our navel. If you've studied light body architecture, yogic sciences, you'll know there's a energy center that we have there that connects to the great cosmic womb, the organic matrix of Mother Earth. And when we awaken from the dream, we awaken to the idea that we are all these fractals of source. So we awaken as our one self. And this is what I'm wondering, like what happens when we awaken from that dream? Do we just basically realize that we're one person, one being, not person? Obviously, we're made in the image and likeness of God. But we awaken, or God awakens, into another dream, and then what happens there? I mean, in the Gnostic text, that's what they talk about. Like, I'm not saying that this is true, okay? I'm just trying to decode what's going on here. But in the Gnostic text, they basically say that this universe that we're living in is based on faulty, corrupted code, because it was created by the demiurge, who created this reality. And he is like the son of Sophia, and Sophia is, the mother goddess that created him, but not out of divine union with her counterpart, who is, the divine masculine, her consort. So again, if you read the Vedic texts, then also they will talk about, you've got to put it all together. You've got to read all the texts and just piece it all together. Like, I can't tell you one book to read. You just got to read them all. And it's a lot. Read all of them. Read all the sacred texts. Read the Kabbalion. Read everything that you can get your hands on. But the thing is, Hirosgamos is an individual journey. So any book that you read to help you in your journey, you could read a book on forgiveness or compassion or manifestation or emotional processing. All of that is going to help you with the Hirosgamos journey. You could read a book about business strategy, and that will help you on your Hirosgamos journey, because that will help you with your masculine integration. You could read a book on mathematics. That will help you decode the architecture of this reality, because it's all fucking numbers and spirals and numerology. So I can't tell you one book to read. It's all, you got to do it. You got to read the book. You got to trust that you're going to be guided to the right books. But since you came to me to ask, I'll tell you what books have changed my life. The Kabbalion is one. The Divine Matrix by Greg Braden is another one. What else am I reading? Autobiography of a Yogi. We'll talk about, again, I don't like the term Christ consciousness, but Dolores Cannon talks about it in her books. But again, with channeled stuff, you got to be careful, because, people are channeling all sorts of different entities, usually with Dolores Cannon's work, they're channeling different aspects of themselves, you know, because we've lived multiple different lifetimes in multiple, not just on Earth, but in different star systems and different galaxies and probably even different dimensions and different universes even. So, you know, when you do quantum healing hypnosis technique, not what I do, you can, well, sometimes I can access these parts, you know, like Emily definitely can, like she can read your field and she can access different lifetimes that you've been in. But if you go to somebody who's trained in Dolores Cannon's technique, quantum healing hypnosis technique, they will take you into other lifetimes and you will experience them yourself, and you will go to them if you are a person that can be hypnotized. If you're not sure, try and hypnotize yourself. Like I do self-hypnosis all the time. I'm actually not easily hypnotized by other people, which is actually a good thing. If you're not easily hypnotized by other people, you're probably more likely to be one of the more awake and aware people on the planet right now, because it's not so easy for them to put a spell on you. A lot of people are hypnotized by the mass formation psychosis that we're living under. You know, through the spells and incantations that they put on the TV and the news and the mainstream media, and all of that stuff is hypnosis. So Dolores Cannon, with her clients, brought through a lot of lost knowledge, and it's definitely worth reading her books. But just be mindful, just keep an open mind, be discerning. She talks about Christ consciousness and the second coming. I'm not saying it's true. I don't know what I believe. What I've studied in the yogic sciences, and also etymology and, you know, esoteric anatomy, and if you want to study that, the best person to look at is Colin Smith from Lifting the Veil. He's got a channel here on YouTube, I'll link it. We use the term Christos or grace. They call it grace in the yogic traditions, or obviously there'll be a Sanskrit word for it, which I cannot remember right now. But it's when you're seeking that unification with God. It's the anointing, basically. In Greek, it means anointing. And it is basically your kundalini will rise through the Sushumna, and then there's basically a certain part of the brain, I can't remember, I'll have to go back and look at the books, but there's a certain part of the brain that releases a chrism, like a serum. It's not an oil, I think it's something else. It's some kind of serum, spinal fluid, that then will awaken you. You'll have an illumination, like you'll have an awakening. I don't think I've experienced that. What I experienced was definitely Kundalini awakening, spontaneous Kundalini awakening. I don't think that I achieved the anointing. I would be surprised because sorry, I was distracted. My agent just emailed me with an urgent, I'll get to it in a minute. So yes, definitely study light body architecture and yogic sciences, because that will unlock a lot of the knowledge and the information that you're seeking. Read the Bible, you know, read all of the sacred texts and piece it all together, and then share with the collective what you found, okay? Because we're all trying to decode this reality at this point. Nobody has all the answers, but everybody has a missing part of the puzzle. This is what we did. We created this. We created all of this. We created ourselves to experience existence and awaken ourselves to what this is. Do you know what I mean? So, okay, what other questions did I get? I might have to, let me see if I can remember them. Somebody asked how to find their mission in life, that they keep on searching, but they don't know. Let me just see, what did they say? Okay, they said that they were unsure of their purpose. They've tried many things, but nothing fulfills them. Why is that? I mean, I can't answer that without knowing the person and without talking to you individually and directly about what you've tried and why it's not working. My best guess is because you haven't aligned to your creator, okay? When you know, sometimes There's perceptual filters that can be and overlays that are caused by trauma. You might have implants, you might have limiting beliefs. You know, you might be running certain, you know, implants can hook you into certain, you know, what's the word, like frequency nets or templates that are running certain stories. Like, you know, you could have like a poverty template, or you could have like a belief that you've got to be working for the man and you've got to do that. So, you know, I can't tell you why you've not found it yet, but what I can tell you is trust that you are always being guided to where you need to be at that moment. And if you do want help with that, I recommend that you just reach out to me personally, because I can't say without knowing where you've been and knowing what you've already tried. Okay, so let's see the next question. Okay, so somebody else asked if I've seen the CIA Gateway papers and how validating it is. Not that we need it, but still, yes, I have seen them. I saw those a few years ago, shared them actually in one of my videos that I posted here, like I think 2 years back I shared them. So they're basically like declassified CIA documents that talk about manifestation basically, and the power of, you know, imagination and your will to project onto the collective hologram your creation. So yes, we don't need it. We definitely don't need it. But the fact that the CIA knows this information, they've obviously been using it. They have been using it. I mean, I can't remember the name of the particular project. One of my friends just posted it on Facebook. It's on my public post on Facebook. But there was a particular project that was a remote viewing project that the CIA did, where they hired a bunch of oracles basically, or psychics who can remote view. And they, you know, they will use like witches and warlocks and psychics and oracles and intuitives to remote view not just what's happening in other parts of the world, and, you know, it's a form of spying, right? Well, it is spying, but also to view future timelines. And now, I've said this before, and I say this also to my clients, when we do field work, sometimes we can open up timelines and look and see what's in the future timeline. These are not fixed, okay? They are immutable, because there are so many different possibilities and different alternate realities and parallel universes where you're living out different combinations of decisions that you're making, that your multidimensional self is making. And then there's also different versions of you that are not even what you are, like you're in different human bodies or different other types of bodies, energy beings. You are literally like so many, at the highest level, you're actually everything. But for you as a human, there are multiple different timelines. So we can open up potential future timelines that the client wants to manifest. And this can be very helpful, because if I say, okay, I can see you doing this timeline is a potentiality. If they choose that they like that timeline, they can choose to bring it into reality by holding that inner vision and just believing and trusting in their power as a conscious creator to be able to manifest that timeline, because your imagination creates reality. A lot of texts talk about this. So yeah, that's what the CIA documents talk about. I'll link the video where I talk about this. It's in one of my videos talking about manifestation, where I read an excerpt from it. But you could, if you have the time, definitely read the papers in full. So what was I saying? Oh, I was going to say something and I can't fucking remember now. This is the thing, I'm getting a little bit distracted by people walking past, because like people are walking past so slowly and they can hear what I'm talking about. And like I said to one of these people that came on my page really irreverently, I do not throw my pearls before swine. And I'm at the point now where, you know, when you begin your awakening journey, you just want everyone to wake up and you want to share this with everyone, because it's like so magical. You're so excited, you want everyone to know. And then you get like, so you face so much resistance from people, and people get triggered, or they get angry, or just don't want to believe it, or they call you crazy. And then it gets to the point where you actually start getting really, really frustrated with people and angry. And a lot of people in the Awakened Truth Seeker community are at that point now. They think it's their responsibility to wake everyone up. Mark Passio talks about this as well. But I think that there's and look, I don't disagree with him, but I have a more nuanced view. I'm not at the point anymore where I feel like it's my duty to wake everyone up, because you have to be initiated into this knowledge, okay? And you have to want it. It's not for everyone, and it shouldn't be for everyone, because if you don't have a certain level of alignment to the law of one, and to God and to universal natural laws and a basic understanding of morality, you will misuse this information. People will misuse this information to do their will, not God's will, okay? The more you align to God's will, the deeper you will be initiated into the knowledge, and the more codes you will unlock. Certain information cannot even, you can try and bang your head against the wall to try and wake people up and get people to see. Certain people are not going to be able to receive the information because they literally have not yet unlocked the doors of perception for them to even understand what you're talking about. So I don't really care that much about sharing this stuff on YouTube anymore, because I used to be scared that like, oh my God, what if people steal my codes, or what if they think I'm crazy? People who aren't ready to receive it aren't even going to be able to understand it. They're not even going to be able to pay attention to it. And some people will actually fall asleep. Like, this is what started happening with me in the beginning of my awakening journey. When I would listen to certain teachers, sometimes the information would be so high level that I would actually just fall asleep, because my conscious mind, because I hadn't married the brain hemispheres. This is again with the process of Hieros Gamos. It's not just about like the union with a man and a woman. It's your inner union, your masculine and feminine energy marrying together and merging together. You have to marry the hemispheres of your brain, the left brain, which is the intellect, the logical mind, and the right brain, which is the subconscious, the feminine. It's your intuition, you going within. You can learn all the information on the outside, but unless you've gone within, you will not have those missing codes that will unlock the secret doorway through which you've been given the key, right, through the knowledge. But you got to go through the feminine, because she is the fucking keyhole. She's the gateway. So you get the key, you unlock the door, and then you open up to a huge, I'm getting chills now because I'm seriously channeling now. It will unlock certain doors of perception that cannot be understood with the logical mind. Now, part of what I'm here to do is to decode some of that through the spoken word, so that some of you who are ready to receive it will understand what I'm saying. But again, you're not going to understand anything, because the transmission isn't only verbal. It's actually an activation that you're going to receive through the spoken word that's going to go into your subconscious mind and plant a certain seed that will be activated later. Like, your guides will come in, give you a download, a packet of information that will unlock a certain thing, and then the things that I've said to you before, or whoever else that you're getting information from, or whatever book you've read, will unlock. And suddenly you will have the gnosis and an inner understanding of what is being said. 1 second, I just need to check the time because I've got a session in a bit. Okay, we're good for time. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. So what else? What other questions were there? I'm trying to remember. Throwing cows before swine. What was I going to say? I was talking about throwing cows before swine. Again, it's just not, I don't mean to insult people, but it's just like, they're not, it's no point, it's falling on deaf ears, because they will not be able to understand it. I cannot talk about certain things to certain people, because they're literally not going to understand it. But I will talk about, like when I was at this party on Saturday, I was talking to this model that I met, and I could, I'm at the point now where I can read certain people's energy, and I can see where they're at and what, not always, but I can definitely sense how open they are and what codes they're containing. So I could see with this girl that she was definitely on the path, and she was seeking, and she had already achieved gnosis of some things, and I could see that already within her when I started talking to her. So, you know, just I asked her what she wanted to do other than modeling, and, you know, has she thought about it yet? And then I could see she just got activated, started talking about, you know, her mission, like what she's here to do. Oh yeah, somebody asked about mission. No, I answered that already, sorry. But what was I saying? Yeah, so every time I kind of, you know, I would talk to her, we would chat, we were having a great time, and then every time I would come back to her at the party, we'd go deeper and deeper and deeper and start talking about more of these concepts. And there was a point at which I was talking to her about, she was just like, what is this? Like, what is it? Like, why are we here? Like, what? And I was just like, and there was another girl there, a model as well, and me and her had a brief conversation where she had said during an ayahuasca ceremony that she had been visited by intergalactic beings, like her star family. She wasn't able to tell me who they were, whether they were Arcturian or what star system, but basically her star team, her galactic family, visited her, gave her a download, like light packet of information through the pineal, and, you know, it wasn't in words, but she was just like, oh my god, it was like, we're an experiment here. And I was just like, yeah man, like, I'm getting chills now again. Like, obviously I've researched this, I know, and I've had the inner gnosis as well, and experienced certain things by location, traveling to different versions of myself, different bodies, you know, different lifetimes. And I was just like, okay, this girl, she's in tune, like, she knows what's up. And so when this girl was asking, what is this, I looked at the other girl, and she was just like, don't. And I was just like, I don't want to say. And she's just like, why not? And I was just like, I don't know if you're ready for it. She goes, I'm ready. So she's asking, okay, she's wanting the information, she's ready to be initiated. So I was just like, all right, cool, I can tell you, but... And then suddenly everyone went quiet. There were like 5 or 6 people in the room. They all went quiet and they were all listening to me. And I just went, no, like, I'm not telling you right now because I cannot have an audience. I don't know how open everybody else is here. Like, you know, it's gonna sound a bit much to some people. And she goes, just tell me. So I was just like, the people obviously noticed that I was just not wanting to share too publicly, so they kind of carried on with what they were doing, but I could see that some of them were listening. And so I just said, basically, we're a genetic experiment. We have DNA from different star systems, different races, all shared their DNA. We were spliced. You can read about it in the Bible, even in many Sumerian tablets, Book of Enoch, several different books will talk about how we were basically, they were pre-Adamites, and then the Adamites, and we were spliced with all this genetic makeup from different races, from different star beings, to create this experiment, this human experiment. And it's not the first time we've been here either. It's always like, you know, they're our cousins. We're basically like connected, like familially, to all these different races, Arcturians, Lyrans. You know, the Lyrans are our original ancestors. And yeah, and there was one particular Lyran girl that was at this party. Like, every time she spoke, this girl had such ancient matriarchal Lyran codes coming through her. Like, she was just a very fun-loving girl, but as soon as I looked at her, I was just like, that girl's got so much Lyran energy. And then when she started talking, like, because we were talking about certain things, and then, you know, she was just like, I was just like, what is this? Like, this is what I'm just wondering, like, what is this? And she was just like, well, it's all just you. Like, how deep do you want to go? And like, when she said that, I was just like, I got chills. I was just like, this girl has gone down some serious rabbit holes. Like, I could see that she had this very, like, it wasn't just like a root race energy, very connected to root races, but it was, you know, super galactic as well, very, very Lyran. So yeah, it's just like, you'll be meeting people at this time just trust that you're on the right path. The person that asked a question about finding your purpose, just trust that you're on the right path and ask God, ask your guides, ask your spirit team, ask your ancestors, whoever you're most connected to. Okay, different people have different connections. Like, and I can see it now. Like, I'm at the point where I can tell with certain people that they have a really strong ancestral connection. Other people are more connected to like their galactic star guides. Other people are just super connected to the source and just talk directly to either the father, the mother. Not saying that these are separate, God is one, but they'll be more connected to the masculine principle or the feminine current of creation, which is, you know, manifested reality, nature, the subconscious, divine feminine, the intuitive. And so that'll be more whether they lean more to the left or the right. So yeah, just trust and ask to be shown and ask to be guided to the right place at the right time. Start listening to your body. If you find that you're more left brain dominant, more logical, more analytical, and you find yourself reading, researching all the time, trust that you're being guided to the right information that you need to read and research, but also work on connecting to your body, because if you're going a bit too into the logical mind, then that can make you a little bit imbalanced to the point where you won't really actually start to receive the proper inner gnosis that you need to actually decode what's happening here and what you're here to do. So start listening to your body, your intuition, your subconscious, your emotions. All of that is divine feminine wisdom. If you're very intuitive, if you're very connected to the body, if you're very emotional, start being more logical, start being more rational, start controlling your mind, start listening to the thoughts that you're telling yourself, because the thoughts that you tell yourself are creating your emotions. So, you know, a lot of people misinterpret intuition for like what's really true. They're not understanding that you're basically filtering what is true through your perceptual filters of your body, which may have overlays and implants and traumas that are coloring what is true and keeping you in certain timelines that aren't your highest. So by connecting more to the logical mind and the stories and the thoughts that you're having, you can actually align with a higher timeline because you're bringing in that divine masculine wisdom. So yeah, I think, was there any more questions? Oh yeah, somebody asked me, have I met any celebrities? I have met loads of celebrities. I have friends who are celebrities. I don't talk about it too much because I'm not like a name dropper like that, but yes, like in my work I meet celebrities all the time. So, and you know, some of them are like big celebrities, some of them are like smaller celebrities. I also know people in the truth seeker and like the conscious community that are well known, who are considered celebrities in that sphere. So it all depends on how you define it. But just what is celebrity? Because nowadays everyone's famous for 15 minutes and everyone's famous for 15 people. So what does it even mean anymore? Okay, so yeah, that's it. That's all I'm going to talk about today. I hope you liked the video, and if you have any questions, you can ask them in the comment box below. If you want to book a session with me, then DM me on Instagram. That's how I book my sessions. If you're interested in joining Reclaim Your Crown, which is ascension technology using Kriyas that will help detoxify your light body and align you with a higher timeline, the link for that is in the description box below. I'm going to love you and leave you, soul fam. Peace out. One love.